Victory in Parliament following the Speaker Baleka Mbete's announcement that President Zuma had survived his 8th no confidence vote against him. The result was total voted 384, yes 177, and no 198, and 9 abstentions, which you've heard. Although the result is clear, we're joined from our Pretoria studio by analyst Dr Somadoda Fikeni, just to find out a little bit more about this. Somadoda, thank you very, very much. What did you make of the results?
Well, I do think that they are important in two ways. In the first place, it is a consolation, even though it must be frustrating for the opposition that they have seen for the first time ANC members joining them and their number growing from 126 to 177 within a space of few months of another vote of no confidence. So incrementally they could be saying that their campaign is gaining traction. But on the other hand, I do think that it will come as a great relief to the ANC, because it will have led to a rupture. It would have led to some kind of a chaotic arrangement within the ANC if such a vote of no confidence would have actually succeeded. It might have even impacted on the functioning of government, because it's not clear that they would have a consensus on the way forward. Beyond this point, it must present them with a soul-searching exercise. But ultimately, though, the secret vote is now a precedent that will redefine the very relationship between the political party leadership and the deployees they have in Parliament.
Yeah. You know, there's been talk that yesterday was a turning point in the history of South Africa and of the ruling party, the ANC. How do you believe that the outcome is going to impact the political space going forward?
I do think that it's going to embolden the opposition and all those calling for the president to step down, because they will believe that they are incrementally gaining ground. When you look at how ANC has performed electorally from 2009 to present, both nationally and provincially, there has been a progressive decline, with a dramatic loss of the metros where much of the economy and GDP is. To that extent, I do think that opposition might be smelling a possibility of uncertainty come 2019. Hence, they may work hard to make sure that the coalition arrangement in the metros and the municipalities works. And secondly, on the ANC side, they still have time at this moment between now and December or beginning of next year to deal with the real issues here. You'll note that even in the vote of no confidence, whilst the opposition was chipping away on the president's own credibility and the president's involvement in a number of negative reports and performance issues, the ANC instead emphasized on the defense of the ANC as an organization, and they had very little to rebut the very direct pointed accusations against the president. To that extent, ANC must begin to deal with the leakage in terms of the emails. They must begin to deal with the perception that they are defending corruption, and they are also arrogant not to listen to the voices of the society, because failure to do so, they may win the battles within the party, they may preserve the party, but they may lose their society.
Yeah, and that's one of the big worries, is that people were watching on and saying, yes, of course, in Parliament, that was the way it was voted. And of course, it's the ANC protecting the ANC. But outside of the parliamentary doors, where the people are watching on, that's where the biggest problem is. And many saying that the ANC has lost touch with what the people are saying and what the people want because of the infighting that's happening. And we're seeing that evident with these results that came out. Is this assessment of where the ANC is at right? Do you think that this is going to severely hamper the election process going forward?
I do think that ANC is facing a number of problems that they have to attend to. The first one, factionalism has now been institutionalized. The party itself is no longer even able to operate at its full capacity because it's a matter of who belongs to which faction. And some members join factional leaders rather than the party itself. And therefore they'll wait for the leader to speak rather than defend the values of the party. And that's an awkward position. The second part is that the party itself very often sounds like an opposition. It has been on the defensive in the last few years on a range of issues instead of providing leadership and moral authority that it used to have in the society. Now even smaller parties are calling the shots. ANC has to defend. Going into the issue of socio-economic transformation, quite fundamental and important, they will have to do something about the state's capacity to implement and a conviction to see policies they propose implemented, because reinvention of different rhetoric and different policy platforms, if the implementation record is poor, in the long run, that is not going to be sustainable, especially at this time when you are facing an economic crisis, a financial crisis that is impacting mainly on your young, energetic part of the population.
Yeah. The predictions about this, I think people were a little bit nervous to predict it. Many did think that President Jacob Zuma was going to be safe yesterday. But by 21 votes, what did you read into that? I mean, did you have any predictions before the vote? And 21, that's a very narrow and close gap for the president.
I have been quite consistent in saying that the president was going to survive this one, not necessarily because ANC was united behind him, but because of their strategic assessment of what would happen to the party, which would literally rupture. And therefore, he was going to survive. That the margin became so narrow, I think not many of us predicted that you'd have such a narrow margin, and that has to be quietly worrying to the ANC. They should, instead of celebrating this as a victory, begin to see the erosion and the progressive corrosion of their electoral support, of their support, and even support from their own members. But one mistake they may make is to walk away from this and spend more time trying to sniff out the members who might have voted against them when they know the reasons are quite open why they did so. Instead of trying to do the soul searching and say, what are the real problems that are being raised both outside and inside the ANC and in the society, more importantly, because ANC might be preoccupied with its own internal dynamics of less than a 1 million membership in a country of 56 million people. Then you may lose focus on the bigger picture.
All right, we leave it there for this morning. Thank you very, very much for your analysis. Dr Somadoda Fikeni is a political analyst giving us a post-analysis of the no-vote confidence against President Jacob Zuma in Parliament last night.